Hello, my name is Candace, and I am a human resources strategist, and I focus on helping organizations that are going through periods of growth to create thriving work ecosystems where it's not like you're just shooting for profits and you're not just trying to support your people in the most amazing way possible, but you're supporting everyone, including your clients. And today I'm talking about what I like to think of as the HR bottleneck. And the HR bottleneck happens at some point in most companies as they're going through periods of growth. The specific symptoms that I'm going to talk about today are especially relative to organizations that are in that like 10 to 30 employee zone. Maybe you've gone past 30 employees, but you've really in the near past been closer to that, 10 to 30 zone. So some of the symptoms are, the first one is not having enough data to make informed decisions. And the kind of data that you need in order to make informed decisions is, of course, relative to the company that you are running or the nonprofit organization that you're running. So understanding if you're doing project-based work, what the benchmarks are in that work and the amount of time you're expecting people to take, and then how much time they're actually taking, is one way to start to gather that data. And then if you're looking at work that is more on a monthly or annual kind of a basis, what are those responsibilities that those people are caring for? And how much of their time do you think is going to be spent on that? I work with companies that use something that's called a utilization rate, or sometimes it's called a billing rate. But that's basically how much of your employees' time are you expecting them to use on revenue generating activities? And then how much time is available to them to be doing other things with their time at work? So that's sort of one piece, is when this HR bottleneck happens, it's like there isn't enough capacity to be able to figure out all of that stuff. Related to not having this data often is a piece of not having clear expectations. And this is why when you work with HR firms and sometimes attorneys and these different people, they ask for an org chart and job descriptions and all this structural stuff, because they're trying to understand where those expectations have been drawn or where they haven't been drawn, what state all of those expectations are in. And, I think that hinders organizations from being able to get to the work of getting data they need to make informed business decisions. So one way to kind of tackle this without creating a whole bunch of job descriptions and an org chart is to learn from people what they're doing, how they're spending their time, and then also what they're confused about or what they're unclear about, or as they went through their training, what information could have been helpful earlier? What did they need sooner than they got it? What did they feel like they got that wasn't really necessary? So it can be more of a process and an interview based kind of an experience for everyone, instead of this, okay, let's have a couple people get in a room and create an org chart and some job descriptions. Although I do, definitely recommend having all that at some point. But that first step of, talking to people and involving them in the process often gets skipped. And when organizations are smaller in the size that we're talking about, it's really important, especially if you're wanting to build trust and keep people with you for a long time, to have them be a part of the process with you. Another symptom that I see around the time of the HR bottleneck is not having the kind of leadership support that there needs to be, in order to facilitate the growth of the organization and take care of the people as it grows. And taking care of the people isn't just making sure that projects are delivered on time, but it's also welcoming new people into the organization. It's creating, whether it's meetings or get-togethers, but ways so that people have opportunities to work with one another and talk to one another and share about what's going on in their lives. And then also trusted people who people can go to when they have problems, like when something's really wrong or when they really need help. Creating space so that people feel safe to be vulnerable is one of the things that often gets left behind in a lot of growth, in a period of a lot of growth, because there isn't the capacity generally in a person who's hired to do a specific job to have all those management responsibilities and capacities. It's something that grows over time. And so this is part of that bottleneck, is figuring out, okay, so how are we going to either train our people up to be able to help in these specific kinds of ways that our employees need, or bring in support to be able to provide this for our employees moving forward. And so the way that we do this differently is, like I was saying, inviting people to participate in the process. I, as an HR professional, like one of the first things I'm like, do you have an org chart and job descriptions? But that just like, it's what it is I'm realizing it's just a way to try to shortcut some of the work. So instead of working with the staff to understand their work, it is a top-down kind of a way of big picture, looking at who is where in the organization and kind of what are they doing. And I think a part of that is just to help whoever the person is, the consultant or the group that's helping the team, is just to help them understand the map. Like, what are they looking at? Where are the mountains? Where are the lakes? Where are the streams? Where are the roads? And that's kind of that part. But I mean, that's not necessary to have in order to do the rest of the work. It just can help to orient to the space. And then the next thing is to understand that this is an iterative process. It's not like you're going to create all of these, systems and then have them never change or never update them. As the business grows, there are different iterations of different types of structures that make sense. And especially at the 15 to 30 zone, and if you're looking at 100 or more employees, there are specific systems in human resources that can be really beneficial to start with at this time, so that you don't have to switch over to them later. Some of those are just ways of administering benefits, and those can look different depending on how your employees are spread out. If they're all in one community, or if they're all across the United States, or if they're worldwide, it looks different for different kinds of companies. So I hope that this was helpful, and if you have any questions about navigating an HR bottleneck or any of these kinds of symptoms, if they're coming up for you, feel free to reach out. I would love to help.